Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring the world of prehistoric birds.
Feathered friends from deep time.
Exactly. Those ancient flyers that ruled the skies millions of years ago. Now, I've been doing a bit of reading on this, and let me tell you, it's a lot more complicated than you might think.
Oh, absolutely.
So I thought it'd be fun to kind of unpack all this together, and really dive into how these prehistoric birds evolved, what helped them survive, and maybe even bust a few myths along the way.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So when we talk about prehistoric birds, like the first thing that pops into my head is that extinction event, the one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
The big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from what I've been reading, birds were already evolving and thriving way before that, during the Cretaceous period.
Oh, yeah. They were sharing the planet with all those giant reptiles. In fact, they were going through a major evolutionary explosion at the time.
So we're talking birds living alongside, like T-Rex.
Absolutely. And to really grasp just how long ago this was, we got to go back to the 1860s.
Okay. To a place called Solnhofen in Germany.
Germany, okay.
That's where they unearthed a fossil that honestly changed everything. Archaeopteryx.
Archaeopteryx. Now, that's a name I've heard before. Isn't that the one with the long feathery tail and like those almost claw-like fingers?
That's the one. And this fossil, let me tell you, it caused quite a stir. It had this crazy mix of, reptilian features and bird-like features. And it provided some of the earliest concrete evidence for Darwin's theory of evolution.
So it was like a missing link, showing that transition between reptiles and birds.
Exactly. Now, to be clear, it wasn't the first bird, but it was like finding this crucial piece of a giant puzzle.
Wow.
It gave us this incredible glimpse into how these creatures were evolving from, land-dwelling reptiles into the birds we see today.
This is already challenging what I thought I knew about birds. So they weren't just like a quick afterthought after the dinosaurs disappeared.
Yeah.
They were evolving right alongside them. Right alongside them. And their story is even more complex than that. We were just talking about Archaeopteryx having feathers, right?
Right.
Well, here's where things get really interesting. Feathers didn't actually evolve for flight.
Wait, what? Then why would dinosaurs have feathers if they weren't using them to fly?
Right, like what was the point?
Yeah.
That's a question that baffled scientists for a long time. But then, discoveries in China, specifically in the Liaoning province, started to rewrite the textbooks. They found all these incredible dinosaur fossils covered in feathers, and I'm not just talking about like the sleek feathers we see on birds today.
So what kind of feathers are we talking about then?
We're talking about a whole variety. Some were simple, like hair-like filaments. Others were more complex with branching structures. It was a real eye-opener, and it led scientists to believe that feathers initially served a different purpose.
So, like, what? Were these dinosaurs just, like, trying to be fashionable?
Haha, well, maybe. But more likely, those early feathers were all about survival. Think about it. Insulation, keeping those dinosaurs warm in a changing climate. And don't forget display. Feathers could have been used to attract mates or, intimidate rivals, just like a peacock's tail feathers today.
So instead of soaring through the skies, those early feathers were about, like, staying warm and looking good.
Exactly.
I love that. It's like prehistoric fashion.
And that brings us to another fascinating creature, Sinosauropteryx. This was the first non-avian dinosaur found with feathers.
So we've been talking about feathered dinosaurs, but what makes this Sinosauropteryx so special?
Well, it provided rock-solid evidence that feathers weren't exclusive to birds. It really solidified this idea that birds actually evolved from theropod dinosaurs, the same group that includes, T-Rex and Velociraptor.
Okay, so all those birds are dinosaurs theories that we hear about, like, actually have some serious weight behind them.
They do. And with Sinosauropteryx, that connection became much clearer. We went from thinking of feathers as, solely for flight, to understanding these diverse roles in insulation and display. It was a huge shift in our understanding of bird evolution.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together. We've got these dinosaurs rocking feathers for warmth and showing off. But how do we get from there to birds actually taking flight? That seems like a pretty big leap.
Well, get ready, because this is where the story takes a truly unexpected turn. Picture this: a dinosaur with not two, but four wings.
Four wings? You're kidding, right? That just sounds chaotic. What kind of dinosaur was that?
There were actually several. Microraptor and Changeoraptor are two prime examples. These guys had long feathers on their legs, essentially creating two extra sets of wings.
So were they, like, flapping all four wings to fly? That seems like a recipe for disaster.
Not quite. It's more likely they use those extra wings for gliding. Imagine them leaping from tree to tree, using all four wings to, control their descent and maneuver through the air.
Like prehistoric hang gliders?
Exactly. But, way cooler.
Oh, yeah, way cooler.
Yeah.
I can just picture them gliding through those ancient forests. It really challenges this idea that evolution has, like, a set plan, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It's a perfect example of how evolution isn't about, progress in a straight line. Sometimes there are these bizarre detours and experiments along the way.
Like a four-winged phase. Okay, I'm officially hooked. But we still got to figure out how those dinosaurs lost two wings and mastered powered flight. Like, that's the real mystery.
You're right. And for that, we need to look at another crucial adaptation, the tail. You might not think it's a big deal, but the evolution of the tail played a huge role in, how birds became the incredible flyers they are today.
The tail. Really, what's so special about a dinosaur's tail? It just seems like it's something that wags around.
Well, it's more than just that. Think back to Archaeopteryx. It had that long, bony tail like many of those early bird ancestors. But as birds evolved, their tails gradually became shorter, and they developed a specialized bone called the pygostyle.
Pygostyle. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. What is it exactly?
It's basically a fused group of tail vertebrae. It forms that short, stubby tail we see on modern birds. And you might be surprised to learn that this seemingly simple change was a game changer for flight.
So you're saying a shorter tail somehow makes them better flyers?
Absolutely. Those long, bony tails on early birds, they were heavy and made maneuvering difficult. But by evolving a shorter, lighter tail with the pygostyle, birds became incredibly agile in the air.
So it's like swapping out a clunky old rudder for a sleek modern one.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The pygostyle allowed for tighter turns, quicker adjustments. It basically revolutionized their ability to, control their movements in the air.
It's amazing how something as simple as a shorter tail can have such a huge impact on flight.
It is.
Okay, this is blowing my mind. We've gone from fluffy dinosaurs to four-winged gliders, and now we're talking about tails as the key to flight control. This is way more complicated and fascinating than I ever imagined.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Bird evolution is full of surprises. Remember, evolution doesn't have a set goal. It's all about adapting to the environment in whatever ways work best.
And I bet some of those adaptations led to some pretty bizarre creatures. I'm ready for more. What else can you tell me about these feathered friends from deep time?
We often think about prehistoric birds soaring through the skies.
Right.
But their evolution wasn't just about conquering the air.
Oh.
Some birds actually went back to walking on land.
Wait, really? That seems kind of counterintuitive. Why would they evolve for flight, only to give it up?
Well, remember, evolution is all about adapting to your environment, right?
Yeah.
If a particular niche favors terrestrial life, well, those traits are going to be selected for.
Even in a lineage that, previously flew.
Exactly. It's like evolution saying, hey, walking works here, so let's go with that.
I see what you mean. So who are these grounded birds?
One great example is Caudipteryx,
Archaeopteryx.
an oviraptorosaur from the Cretaceous period. It had a toothless beak, just like modern birds,
Okay.
but it also had strong legs and short arms, suggesting it was primarily a land dweller.
A toothless beak on a land-dwelling dinosaur. That's a wild combination. Did it have feathers, too?
Absolutely. Caudipteryx had feathers on its tail, likely used for display. And this brings up another interesting concept, convergent evolution.
And virgin evolution.
It means that unrelated species can develop similar traits because they're adapting to, similar environments.
So Caudipteryx, with its beak and tail feathers, was kind of like a land-loving bird.
Yeah.
It's like evolution was experimenting with different ways to solve the same problems.
Precisely. And speaking of different solutions, we can't forget about the birds that went aquatic.
Birds taking to the water. Now, that's something I wouldn't have guessed. Are we talking like prehistoric penguins here?
Penguins evolved much later,
Okay.
but you're on the right track. During the Cretaceous, a group called Hesperornithus ruled the oceans.
Hesperorniths.
These birds were highly specialized for swimming.
So if they were such good swimmers, what kind of adaptations did they have? Did they have, like, webbed feet like ducks?
They had even more specialized adaptations than that. Hesperorniths had these streamlined bodies, powerful legs with lobed feet for propulsion, and their wings were reduced. Some even lost their flight feathers entirely.
Wow, they really committed to that whole swimming thing. They basically traded their wings for flippers. Were there any, like, famous Hesperornithes we should know about?
One notable example is Hesperornis regalis,
Hesperornis regalis.
a large flightless bird that could grow to over 5 feet long. Imagine that swimming alongside marine reptiles.
I would not want to meet that in the water. It's incredible how bird evolution went in so many unexpected directions.
It is.
We've got land-dwelling birds with beaks, ocean-going birds that lost the ability to fly. It's like they were trying out every possibility.
Exactly. And all this diversity was happening during the Cretaceous period, right alongside those dinosaurs.
Right.
But as you know, that era came to a pretty dramatic end with the mass extinction event.
It's the asteroid impact that, wiped out so many species.
Yeah, the big one.
So what happened to all these incredible prehistoric birds? Did any of them survive?
Sadly, most of them went extinct along with the dinosaurs.
Oh.
But here's the amazing part. One lineage actually managed to survive
Okay.
and gave rise to all the birds we see today.
Wait, seriously, so all the bird diversity we have now,
Yeah.
from like hummingbirds to ostriches, all came from a single lineage that made it through the extinction?
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it? These survivors are called neorniths. And, they weren't even the dominant group in the Cretaceous. They were just one branch on this vast evolutionary tree.
Right.
But they were the ones who, inherited the world after the extinction.
It's like someone hit the reset button on bird evolution, and those neorniths, the underdogs of the Cretaceous, were suddenly in the spotlight.
That's a great way to put it. And they didn't waste any time. After the extinction, neorniths underwent this rapid diversification, evolving into all the incredible variety of modern birds we know and love today.
That's a powerful image, a world, recovering from disaster, and these resilient birds rising from the ashes to fill the skies again.
It is.
But if we want to understand this incredible success story, we need to look at the fossil record, right?
Exactly. And that's where things get a bit tricky. Finding fossils from that transition period between the Cretaceous and the Paleogene, right after the extinction, is incredibly challenging.
So are there any fossils that can give us clues about, the early evolution of these neornithes, the ancestors of modern birds?
There are a few,
Okay.
and they're like gold to paleontologists. One such fossil is Vegavis,
Vegavis.
discovered in Antarctica. It's this goose-like bird from the late Cretaceous, and it clearly belongs to that neornithes lineage.
So we have proof that modern birds were already around before the extinction event.
We do.
But what about those, crucial early years after the impact? Those must have been a real test of survival.
Absolutely, and that's where another incredible discovery comes in. Asteriornis.
Asteriornis. Okay, that one's going to take some practice to pronounce.
It is a mouthful, but trust me, it's worth remembering. This bird was found in Belgium, and it dates back to about 66.7 million years ago,
Okay.
right at the end of the Cretaceous period.
So right before the asteroid hit, that's cutting it close.
Yeah.
What's so special about this Asteriornis?
Well, it shows this fascinating mix of features found in both, ancient birds and modern birds.
Okay.
It's like a snapshot of that pivotal moment when, modern birds were starting to take shape.
It's like we're looking through a window into the dawn of modern birds. This Asteriornis must be a real treasure trove of information for paleontologists.
It certainly is. These fossils, while rare, are giving us these invaluable insights into, the early evolution of neornithes.
Yeah.
They show us that even in the face of a, catastrophic event, life found a way to persevere and diversify. It's a truly inspiring story.
And what a diversification it was. Over 10,000 species of birds grace our planet today.
It's amazing.
From, tiny hummingbirds to massive eagles, they fill our skies with color and song. It's a legacy that stretches back millions of years.
It is.
Through extinctions and radiations to those, early feathered dinosaurs we discussed earlier.
That's right.
It's a powerful testament to the power of evolution,
Yeah.
to its ability to, shape life in ways we could never imagine. And with each new fossil discovery, our understanding of these feathered wonders continues to grow. It's amazing to think about, this whole evolutionary timeline, how these creatures evolved over millions of years. But sometimes I got to bring it back down to earth a bit.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some specific adaptations that allowed these birds to become, amazing flyers? The things that make them so different from their dinosaur ancestors?
Absolutely. It involves a whole suite of remarkable adaptations. Let's start with the most obvious one, wings.
Makes sense. But what's so special about bird wings compared to, say, the wings of a bat or a pterosaur? They all seem to do the same job, right?
Well, bird wings are incredibly efficient. They have this airfoil shape, curved on top, flatter underneath, creates lift as the air flows over them. It's It's like nature's perfect design for catching the wind.
So the shape is important.
Hmm.
But what about the feathers? We talk about them evolving for insulation and display,
Yeah.
but how do they actually contribute to flight?
Feathers are essential for flight. They're lightweight, yet strong, and they can overlap to create this smooth aerodynamic surface.
Right.
Plus, each individual feather can adjust and move, allowing birds to fine-tune their flight control.
So it's not just about flapping their wings. Those
Yeah.
feathers are making micro adjustments constantly to keep the bird stable and maneuverable.
Exactly.
That's incredible. What about their bones? Aren't bird bones hollow or something?
You're right. Birds have hollow bones with internal struts for reinforcement.
Okay.
This makes them incredibly lightweight without sacrificing strength, which is crucial for, taking off and staying airborne.
It's like nature's version of a lightweight aircraft.
Yeah.
Are there any other cool adaptations that help them conquer the skies?
Well, their respiratory system is another marvel. Birds have these air sacs that connect to their lungs,
Okay.
allowing for a continuous flow of oxygen even when they exhale.
Wow.
It's super efficient and provides them with the energy they need for sustained flight.
So even their breathing is optimized for flying. It's like every single part of a bird's body is working together to make them these incredible flying machines.
Exactly. And we haven't even talked about their incredible eyesight, their navigational abilities, their specialized beaks for feeding. The list goes on and on.
It's mind-blowing. And to think, all this evolved from those early feathered dinosaurs we were discussing.
Yeah.
From simple beginnings to this, incredible diversity of birds we see today. It's a testament to the power of natural selection.
It truly is. And while we've learned so much about bird evolution, there are still so many mysteries to unravel. Who knows what other amazing adaptations we'll uncover in the future?
That's what's so exciting about paleontology, right? Every new discovery has the potential to rewrite the textbooks and change our understanding of the past.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that science is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn.
Well said.
Oh.
So, to our listeners, I encourage you to keep exploring the world of paleontology and never stop asking questions about the natural world. You never know what amazing discoveries await us. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of prehistoric birds. Until next time.